I am super excited to chat with my next guest today. His name is Francisco Soares, and he is the founder of Furious Green and the Tokyo Startup Lunch Club. He's also a great friend of mine. Francisco, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lee, for having me. Great to have this chat with you as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited, man. I met you at the Tokyo Startup Lunch Club when I first came to Japan. I think it was last year in May. It was when I first attended, and it's just been a great friendship that we've had ever since. I've helped out with the Yokohama Startup Lunch Club and just love seeing the growth of your community. So, can you tell us a little bit about you and how you started all this amazing stuff here?
I'm originally from Brazil, but I've been living here in Japan since April 2007, so almost 19 years now. I came here with a scholarship from the MEXT, the Ministry of Education of Japan, to do my master's in natural language processing, which is kind of like the basis of where ChatGPT and all the hyped technologies today come from, but when they were not sexy.
Yeah, I know AI has been around since what, like the 60s or 50s, but then
Exactly.
yeah, but not like it is today. So yeah, the lunch club itself, like that started, how long ago was that?
So the Lunch Club is an interesting story. I've always wanted to have my own company like forever. I tried it in 2011, didn't really work out at the time. And in 2022, I decided to take the leap and quit my job and be a full-time founder. But I had no idea what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, there was, I think, around 2021, mid 21, later half of 21, there was this random guy called Ilya, that I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people know these days, just contacted me randomly on LinkedIn. Oh, I'm coming to Japan and I want to meet people. And we kept, talking. And by the time he came to Japan, he had an amazing network. He knew like, so many people. And I said, I want to have a chat with you about what it is running a company because I have no idea what I should be doing after this. And he's like, well, I live close to the International Forum.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to come by, we can have a chat there. And I expected it to be a one-on-one chat. When I arrived there, he had like, five or six people together with us. And I think I always joked like I got so much more value from the other people than him.
I bet, I bet.
uh, And that's when I thought, I am very fortunate to be able to get all these advices and learn from people who are doing it in the trenches, not just going to an event with 200 people where
Mm-hmm.
you have an entrepreneur talking about like, yeah, I had this amazing idea and I persevered and
Yeah.
people threw me a lot of money and now I'm rich. Because before all that stuff happens, you have to incorporate, you have to open a bank account, you
Mm-hmm.
have to know how to pitch to an investor. How do you make a proper pitch deck? Right? There's so many things you actually have to do on a daily basis that you have no idea. And the reason why I got all that information like firsthand was because of the connections that I had in at that moment in particular through Ilya. And I said, I want to create a space where anybody like me who is just starting and doesn't really have an idea of what to do, they can come and have a safe space, a free space where they can just talk about their day to day or ask all the questions that they have at the stage that they are right now. So this is like, how the lunch club started.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, and I remember, just meeting a bunch of great like founders and entrepreneurs, people who are not even founders, they're just interested in
Exactly.
starting a business that just had some really great discussions. And I also really enjoy the format. You had it outside where all the food trucks are in this very central location, and it was just a really comfortable atmosphere. Can you tell me a little bit about the format of the lunch club and yeah, why it's like that?
So we've been doing this for almost 4 years or 3 years and a half. And I think we went through different stages. I think in the beginning we were around 4 to 6 people,
Hmm.
sometimes eight. We were outside. That was the beginning of 2022. So a lot of the people that would come, they were like, I'm tired of COVID. I want to be outside. I want to meet people. And there was still a lot of talk about, like, what was it, like the social distance, right? Here in
Yep.
Japan.
Yeah.
So the outside setting, the tables, with table like with seats kind of far apart from everyone was perfect. You could go outside, so you weren't on a closed room. You had the personal distance guaranteed there. You had the food trucks with many different kinds of food, and you actually had people in front of you.
Yeah.
So I think I would label 2022 the I want to meet people era of of the lunch club. I would say 2023, we created the meetup.com page,
Mhm.
and then we started getting a big influx of people like you who
Mhm.
just came to Japan, were planning that were thinking about coming to Japan to do something, and they didn't really had a crowd yet. They didn't really know anybody, and they wanted to know more about the startup scene. So a lot of people from abroad traveling or who had just moved to Japan started coming. I think that was from 2023, this has been kind of the trend
Mm.
with us. Of course, we have our regulars as well. I think you've seen that. I think, yeah, in Tokyo, we have in general half of regulars and newcomers. Another difference, I would say, so going very, very quickly through the stages, 2022, we were like between, yeah, four people in average. 2023, we're between six and eight, approaching 10 per week. So, but that was it's still very manageable. I think, like, that's where conversations get really lively.
Yep.
2022, I had days where I had only me and another person coming.
Yep.
Eugene, our co-host, sometimes we were just talking about politics, just the two of us. From 2024, I would say that the community started to grow. I think by mid 2024, we were getting around 10 plus
Okay.
people. And by the end of 2024, we were having a constant of close to 20 people.
Yep.
2025, we saw the bigger crowds above 20.
Hmm.
So that was great. It was really great because I had a lot of people who would come and say, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I came to Tokyo and someone told me I should come here.
It's become a staple in the community, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I should just come. So I was really happy with that. At the same time, the space was really hard to get.
Mm.
We were just taking tables and chairs from the eating area from everybody, and it was hard to have tables, especially when you had events at the forum. And when you have a bigger crowd, geographically speaking, if you have five tables in a row, it gets really hard for everyone to listen to anyone.
Yes.
So I think that our original format, which was always have casual but deep talks in between the members, kind of became a challenge as we grew. And I think it was a group of people, but uh, there was you. I think that independently came to me with the same conversation. I think the first person who came to me and said you should be doing the meetup at TIB,
Mm.
it was Tetsuya,
Okay. Yeah.
who's running the Thursday meetup at TIB,
Yep.
the global meetup. He was the first person that said, like, why aren't you doing this at TIB?
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know, like, can we even do it
Uh,
there? And he actually went and he asked, and he found out that to be running an event there, you had to become a partner of TIB, send a bunch of documentation to the government, become a partner, and then you can actually set up an event. And I was like, yeah, you see, so that's very difficult. And months went by, and then you mentioned about Maki at TIB, and then Eugene was also a Saturday at TIB, and he met with Maki, and he told her, like, you should come to the lunch club because there's this community there. And a third person that I can't remember right now. If you hear this and you know who you are, you feel free to let me know. But another third person, like, came to me and talked about Maki in the lunch club,
mhm.
and she started coming to our events. And I think by the second time, she was like, do you want to move this event to TIV? And I was like, there's actually a thing that happened that nobody, like, so a few people know is like during the week, during a holiday, we had a lunch club.
Mhm.
And because the food trucks were not there, someone just said, like, well, TIV, you can enter for free, right? Why don't we just go there?
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, let's, I mean, everybody has a registration. We're just gonna go to TIB.
Mhm.
And I left a comment, or maybe Eugene, someone left a comment on the meetup.com comment saying, well, we moved to TIB today. And as we were like just chatting and having our like usual meet, one guy from the previous organization, not the current one, he came to me and asked, like, are you running a meetup here? I'm like, I mean, I'm not running a meetup here. We were outside. We just happened to come inside. He's like, well, look at the comments here of your page. I found your page. See, there's a comment here saying that you're running a meetup in our space. This is a government-owned meetup. Worst case scenario, I might need you to take responsibility, like, respond to the governor or something like that.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so I am never coming to TIV again.
Wow.
Like,
Interesting. Wow.
So when Maki came to me by the second time, like, do you want to do this meetup at TIB? I was like, okay, there's something. I didn't know that the management team had changed, that the management company had changed. So I
Mhm.
was like, there's something really weird here.
Mhm.
Like, are these people trying to trick me into like, something? Do they want to get me arrested? I don't know. Like,
Exactly.
but yeah, like chatting with Maki, we talked a couple of times. I saw that she was really passionate, and she was really interested in making the community better.
Mhm.
So I was like, let's give it a chance. And since July, we've been running the meetups at TIB. So tomorrow, the 30th of September is going to mark our 2 months, 2 full months of running meetups at TIB, and I'm really happy for Maki and for being able to do this at their space because of that. I think all the hurdles that I just mentioned to you,
Yeah.
we got solved.
Mhm.
Now we have a proper space. Because we have a proper space, people can move in between without being scared that their chairs are gonna be taken. We've grown to over 30 people
Yeah.
a meetup, and now we can actually use their mic and speakers, so everybody can hear everybody's self introductions. And I think we've been able to keep doing what I think is the thing we can do the best with, which is still like encourage people to have casual but deep conversations and find the people that they're looking for. I think the infrastructure provided by TIV has been really instrumental in supporting this bigger crowd that we've been having.
Honestly, it just makes sense because it's around the corner. It's already focused, right? These are people who are already members. Why not? And like it's perfect timing because it's going to go into the winter months where, it's going to get cold out. People more maybe during those months, not so many people can come out. And now you have more and more people that can stay engaged in the community throughout the whole year. It just makes sense. Like I don't know why it wasn't, like something that we thought about in the future, but this is great that it's finally there. You know what I mean? So, I had asked Maki this last time, and I kind of want to get it from your perspective. What do you think the word community means in your mind? What is community to you?
I think that's a very good question. I think from my perspective, and I think community has been something I've been trying to find in everything I do. I think community is having people around you that can, where you can support each other. I don't think it's only a take thing. I think it's a give and take. And I like to say that normally you should be giving first before you take. So I think community is a group of people where everyone is trying to do the best to help the other members with whatever they are in need. So I think that's like I think it's really a support group. I think that's from my perspective, that's what community is.
I think that's what the Startup Lunch Club is. It's definitely something where, you're giving your time every single week to promote this event and keep this event going. And then also the people there are, giving their advice making connections with people. Now that they're at TIB, they have a more comfortable space to do so, and that's really great to see how much it's grown. And obviously, you also trying to expand to Yokohama and hopefully other cities later on. This that'll be incredible.
Just to give a shout out here, like, I think there's a couple of people that, deserve a mention. I think Eugene, he's been coming, like, from the very beginning. As I said, even when there was nobody, he was there.
Mhm.
And the thing that I like the most, for example, he is not a founder. He works at a startup. He is an engineer, but he's been to most of the meetups. He always helps when we run an event. He's always the first person to say, "Do you need anything? Can I help you, like, organize or with anything?" So he is like, in a way, the person, like, from a purely context wise, he's like, one of the persons who has, I would say, the least to win. If you just think about, like, how can I say, numbers, right?
Mhm.
But I think he does it because he feels he's getting that much from the community that he needs, that, he wants to give back. So I'm really happy that he feels that. There's Sean, who just recently joined our community, who I met at a different event. I invited him to come to the lunch club. He came it casually once, and then he really clicked with the community. Now he's being really help. He's very, very vocal. He's been bringing people. A couple of times that I wasn't there, he was like, leading the self introductions and making people be interactive. Also, there's you, uh, who helped me, like, kickstart Yokohama and everything. So I'm really happy to have all these people around, like, that always try to contribute to the community. So yeah, I thank you, everybody.
Honestly, yeah, it's such a like a mission that anyone can get on board with because it's all about community. And yeah, I wanted to transition to the next topic, which is about AI and how it's going to impact how we communicate together and as well as community. So I've heard from a lot of other podcasts and a lot of leaders in the industry that, human to human connection is going to be even more highly valued in this new era of AI. I'm wondering from your perspective, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a very interesting topic. Even though I'm someone who is working in the industry, who has been involved in the machine learning and AI space for a long time right now, I don't think AI is going to be replacing uh, people per se. I think, as you just mentioned, human connections are going to be more and more, like, valuable and stronger. I think that was there was an interesting like an analogy that, happened in a different conversation the other day on how digital photography is, like, evolving so much.
Mm,
But the German camera company Leica, they said that with the evolution of AI and digital photography, their cameras are being more and more valued because
mm,
people are starting to see, like, these two things are very separate. Like, so you have optical photography where they have, like, all the, the warmth
mm,
of using, like, optical lenses and chemical approaches to develop a photo
mhm,
versus a very clear and very shiny, like, computer graphics picture, and there is space for both. I see the same thing happening, for example, with, like, in industrial revolution. Back in the day, you only could have glasses made by a glass blower.
mhm,
Then you had factories who could make hundreds of exactly the same glass. And people were at first they're like, oh my God, like, we can have the same glass. Look at this perfect round shape. How
mhm,
amazing is this? And people got used to it. And then having the glass blower blowing you a one of a kind glass, that even though the shape is the same, there's always a it could you could call it an imperfection. You could call it, like, personalization
mhm,
that makes each glass blown by a glass blower differently.
mhm.
I think this is where we're going to be going with AI as well. I think there's going to be many tasks writing, podcasting. Like, these days, AI already can do it very well in many topics.
Mhm.
But for certain topics, I think for certain aspects, that's going to be the norm. But because of that, just like the glass, we're going to want a drink. We're going to be paying more money to have a drink poured by a human bartender We're going to be paying more money to be getting a lecture from a real human with real human experiences.
Hmm.
So I think that the biggest thing here is like, where do you see yourself positioned around, AI as becoming a norm? Just like, 100 years ago, it was, how do you see your job being positioned related to a machine, as in like, machinery? That's how I see it.
My follow-up question to that is like, people who are studying in university now, let's say software engineering or design or things like that, that are right now being replaced by AI.
Yeah.
Right, like, what do you think their future is going to be like? What should they do? Should they get into entrepreneurship? Should they play around with some of these tools and try and solve their own projects and gain some experience that way? Because as a business owner, do you want to hire somebody who's a junior that where an AI system can, do it much better?
So let's look at a car. As cars move to autonomous driving,
Mhm.
first, there's always going to be situations where you cannot do autonomous driving, which means that you're still going to need people with licenses and people who can have really good driving skills. In particular, particularly like, let's what we call let's call it edge cases. So I think like, running through the mountains, running through like, some zones that are not like, easy for, to train an AI to run at. You're going to need human beings there, most probably, at least for the foreseeable future. Also, you still need to be able to drive your car in case something happens with connectivity, where something happens with like, the autonomous driving system. So you still need to be able to take over the car if something happens. Another way to look at this is also, it's not because you don't have to drive the car that you don't need people to understand how the car was built, to fix the
Mhm.
car, to build the car, to design a car. So this I'm going to link to the previous comment with a comment that I heard from an Accenture executive at a talk at Kanagawa University, where he said that you in the AI era you could broadly bucket people in four different categories, which is people who use AI really well and they excel more because of AI. There's the people who can build AI. There's the people who have something that AI doesn't have, be it a story, be it charisma, something. And four, or you're cheaper than AI. So I that's how I see it. Computer science is still a skill needed to build AI. It's still a skill needed, to take over when AI cannot do things. If
Mhm.
AI messes something up, someone needs to debug it. Someone needs to audit it. Auditing firms, there's accounting software for everything, but there's hundreds of people in auditing firms because we still need people to vouch, for those results.
Mm. Mhm.
So I think AI is a catalyst. It makes things faster. You still need people to vouch for the results. You wouldn't take a bag that you don't know the contents, and go through customs
Right.
through it, right?
That's true. True.
You wouldn't ask me to write a report for your boss and wouldn't check it and just give it to your boss and say, I asked another random person to write it for me
That's
and I
true.
didn't check. So I think this is where I mean, like, having the skills is going to play. Also, very something that happened to me recently. I was discussing a business idea with a sales executive of a huge multinational, and he said, "So I came up with this prompt at ChatGPT, and here are the insights that I got from about the business that you're thinking of." And I use the same ChatGPT, and the insight that he got blew my mind. I never even thought
Hmm.
about thinking about that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And he can prompt for these perspectives to ChatGPT because he has the sales knowledge, because he has the go-to-market knowledge, because he has this vast experience on bringing new products to the market that I don't have. So you still need, the more knowledge you have in the space, the more you can leverage AI to 10x that. So I think I saw this somewhere, but AI is a multiplier. It's not additive. It's a multiplier.
Right, yeah. You can get exponential growth if you know how to use it. S-
Exactly.
Speaking of that, before we started filming, I just joke with you about how I didn't even know the name of your company until recently. And you specialize in helping companies learn how to use and implement AI into their system. So can you tell us a little bit about Furious Green?
Sure. The first thing people normally ask is why the name,
Yeah.
and yeah, so there is this very famous computer scientist, linguist, and activist, a lot of other stuff called Noam Chomsky,
Okay.
and yeah,
I've heard of
in
him.
the 50s, he was writing about uh, how we view language, and one thing that he wrote about was how up until now, the 50s, people were looking at language. So what defines what a sentence is?
Mm,
A sentence is defined by the syntax. So you have a sentence, it has a, a subject, it has a verb, it has an object for the verb. For example, I'm making it very, very, very simple here. And if you can fit things in there, it should be a sentence. And the example that he gave was uh, colorless green ideas furiously sleep.
right.
It follows all the rules of the grammar, all the syntax rules, but it makes no sense. And then what he said is like, even though the grammar is there, if the semantics are not there, this shouldn't be considered a sentence. And during university, I was like, what, 18, something like that, 19. That concept hit me so hard because I was like, this should be obvious these days, like to look for something that makes sense. But so how humanity tends to stick to the form, to the structure, and not really look at the deeper meaning. What's really behind the form. And I was like, yeah, someday if I make a company, I want to name it, make it an homage to Noam Chomsky and this sentence that he came up with. Uh, with this feeling of like, you shouldn't really just look at the exterior, you shouldn't just look at the form or the structure. You should really try to find out what's behind, like, the deeper meaning of something. So that's where the company name comes from. What we do, I try to focus on training and to actually tell you the truth. The reason why we started with AI wasn't because it was a trend. When I started doing trainings on the AI space, it was before ChatGPT came out, and I thought, well, nobody is doing AI right now, so this is going to be a differentiator. Machine learning and AI, training for the future, and nobody really cared. And then ChatGPT came out, and everybody became an AI company. And I was like, where's my differentiator now? But yeah, we're really focused on giving trainings both for engineers, and I think that's where we excel. So trainings for engineers who already can program, but don't really know what's the best way to utilize an LLM to develop a production level application. Not only LLMs, machine learning in general, computer vision, recommendation systems, classical NLP, I mean, non-LLM NLP, these things we're working with. More recently, we've been working with big local, domestic, and international companies as well, giving them training on how to use AI on a more day-to-day operations level, how to improve productivity as well. So we just want to help people to utilize technology in the best way they can.
Honestly, like I think it's so important to, get up to speed with AI because it's already here and it's rapidly developing. I remember having discussions with my wife just a few months ago, I think, about ChatGPT, and she was in awe in terms of how it could help her with her lesson planning and things like that. There's so many people out there that have heard of ChatGPT but don't really understand its power. I'm assuming for companies it's the same, right? There's, especially here in Japan, there's so many companies that are slow to adopt even pretty widespread technologies. What are some challenges you've had to face with that kind of slow adoption and culture here in Japan?
So I was just in San Francisco 2 weeks ago, and I would say the biggest difference that I see there and here in Japan as in general is in San Francisco, in the I think the US in general, 80 to 90% of the companies are already using AI on a daily basis. At the same time, only 25% of those could see any real ROI coming from it. My point is, I think Japan is on the only 25% of the companies have actually tried using AI on a daily basis. So I feel that we are well behind. I think there's a lot of policy companies, there's a lot of things that hinder the adoption of AI. Like, can we actually use this? Is it going to make any sense? I think also aversion to risk.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general, people tend to look more at, if I do this and it goes wrong, what am I going to have to deal with, instead of like, if I use it and it goes right, how much can I profit from that?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest difference, I think, in thought that I see in San Francisco and in Tokyo right now. Also, with the clients that I'm dealing with, I think that the things that I hear the most in Japan right now is a polarization. What's happening here is the young people, they are using AI for everything. So new grads, they already have their paid ChatGPT account. And when they enter a company, they don't really think too much. They just throw all the work onto ChatGPT and get things done, which is great from a productivity perspective, but compliance, data security,
Yeah, exactly.
you don't really want to have, all your, company numbers being crunched and saved by OpenAI. At the same time, you have the veterans, the people that actually have the knowledge around the work and could, be doing the multipliers we were talking about before, the exponential that we were talking before, but they're more avert. They don't trust the idea of using a new tool that could even that they feel could even replace them. So you end up having the older generation that knows a lot but can't really profit from AI's multipliers, because they are still a little bit scared of the new technology, versus the young people who have no knowledge, or little knowledge of the actual field that they were working on, but use AI for everything, which
Mm-hmm.
makes which also is a risk, not only from a compliance side, but people just sometimes trust that AI is going to be right every time.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened to me, get a report that was very wrong, and someone said, "Oh, I just asked Gemini," and I'm like, "Well, I asked you to do it, not Gemini." So,
Exactly.
so yeah, I cannot tell Gemini, you bad boy, or bad girl. So, yeah, I think this is the polarization that I've been seeing in Japan right now.
It's tricky, man, because, especially for some things like writing, for example, AI doesn't make any mistakes with regards to grammar and like structure and things like that. But content-wise, you really have to be careful with what it's spitting out. And it could be good for brainstorming, it could be good for those type of things. But I feel the general public doesn't really know how to prompt AI to get the most out of it. What are some of the things that your company teaches these employees or these companies how to use AI?
One thing that we tend to say at Furious Green, that is our differentiator, is uh, we're mechanics that teach you how to drive. So what we mean by that is that because we know how the car works, we can teach you the best way to drive to get the best out of the amount of gasoline you're putting in the car. How can you safely drive to not to save in tires? How can you drive in a better way that you're gonna be having to do less, taking your car less to to be fixed. So because we are engineers, because we have a research and engineering background, we understand how AI works under the hood, which means that we can give you a better view of how to use AI based on that knowledge of how it was built. We can tell you what it can do. We can tell you what it cannot do. So it's easier. We make it easier for you to know where to put your trust on AI, or where to keep an eye on for what you should be really, to get prepared for where I can fail you.
Yeah, it's highly necessary in today's day and age for sure. Are you guys planning on like making content online that can share some of this stuff to general public, or I guess, what's your strategy in that sense?
So actually, that's a very timely topic. We are working right now on content generation. So up until now, we've been very B2B focused
Mm,
and worked on customized training for for our clients. But we want to expand a little bit more. We want to be able to service a bigger public as well. So right now, we are working on online content uh, on a much affordable price. Up until now, our B2B prices were also not the cheapest
hmm
because we have a lot of pride on our technological expertise
hmm
and the content we can provide, but we also want to be able to, democratize that a little bit more. And we are aiming on releasing an online platform, online e-learning platform in the end of October.
Oh, nice, man. Cool.
Yeah, so that's going to be focused on very short courses, not to teach you everything but about AI, but for example, how to use Google's VO3 to make a marketing video.
Mm, useful, very useful.
10 to 20 minutes with a script on how to use the tool. If it's a programming exercise, you're going to get the solution already. So the idea is you're someone busy who needs to get stuff done. You don't have time to be watching all the YouTube videos and rewriting all the code. You don't have time to go through Udemy and find the course that actually has maybe some module has what you want to do. You also don't want to go to Udacity. You don't want to go to Coursera. You don't want to go to school and spend 6 months to learn what AI and what an AI agent is to make a marketing video.
hmm
So we want to give you on the spot advice for that specific task you want to do on the next 30 minutes. So that's what we're going to be aiming as a platform.
That's incredible, man. That's super useful. I think that a lot of people will find value from that, honestly. And you know what's great is you have a huge community that could be potential first initial adopters for that. I was looking at our LinkedIn profiles earlier, and I saw that we have 218 mutual. So like that's a whole product of the community building that you've been doing, and obviously those warm leads are those people who, interact with us on a daily basis. So, I think that it's like the perfect timing.
Yeah, thank you. I think we really want to make something, for the community out there, for people who want to learn more about AI. So the prices are going to be on a lot on the cheaper side. So I'm talking about anything between 2,000 to 7,000 yen
Oh,
per course. So it's we want to make it very affordable. We want to make it, but still be able to deliver the same high quality we've been doing for our B2B clients as well.
it's incredible, man, because you brought up a great point about all the stuff that's on YouTube, all the stuff that's on these course websites. It's all jumbled. There's so many people doing the same types of courses. It's hard to determine which one is good and which one's not good. I'd rather hear it from somebody like you who has deep experience from AI before it even became popular, right? So I'm really excited, looking forward to seeing that stuff come out, man. I think I need some of that for my business. I know a marketing video, for example, would really help me. And yeah, I'd love to learn from you guys. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. So we spoke a lot about the Tokyo Startup Lunch Club, AI, and how it's going to change the way we work and some of the things you're doing at Furious Green. Was there anything that we didn't speak about that you think we should have spoke about?
Just a brief mention that you talked a little bit about Yokohama and in future cities in maybe in the future. I actually completely agree with you. On Yokohama, we've moved the meetup to be a bi-weekly meetup on Wednesdays.
Mm.
So if you need more information, go to meetup.com and look for Yokohama Startup Lunch Club or Tokyo Startup Lunch Club. They are under the same group, just different events. And yeah, maybe like in the future we can actually have a meetup somewhere else. One thing that I want to do this year is I want to officialize the lunch club and turn it into a nonprofit
Oh, nice.
organization where we can actually, for example, gather. for example, contributions, sponsorships, and bring that to the public. I think one topic that we talked about is like, what's the future of the lunch club? I think it's not only the casual meetups connecting people. I want to be able to do more, let people know who our members are so they can find their members. I want to create a space where people with products, for example, in your case, you're running your workshops,
Mhm,
you're running your classes,
mhm,
and I love for people who are part of the lunch club to be able to know that other members, what they can provide for
mhm,
them.
mhm,
So we want to create a online presence where people like, we can present what our members are doing so that other members can go for it. We want to be able to maybe in the one thing that I'm still trying to figure out a little bit how is for the members who are actually trying to found a company, who want to get investment from investors. Within these years, we got really close to a lot of different places. We had investors VCs actually coming to our meetup. So how can we better connect the ventures that are the members that are like, building their own companies with these VCs? Because one thing that I always hear from VCs themselves is, I cannot find the right startups. I
mhm.
cannot really find founders. And founders are like, I never really know how can I connect with a VC. I
Yeah.
don't want to do that as a service, but I think our community is the lunch club is very well, I think, should be very well placed to be a place to connect
Mhm.
these two sides together. So these are the directions that I see in the future for us, is to expand how we connect our ecosystem, be it through the services that our clients have, be it connecting VCs and founders.
That's a great direction to go in, and I think that having like maybe a pitch lunch or something like that, or if you get
Exactly.
investors come in, you have some startups ready to go, that could be very interesting. And because at TIB, you got the facilities there to do it, and yeah, that's really exciting. The nonprofit angle, I really think is going to take it to the moon, man. I think that you'll be able to partner up with some really great institutions here. And hopefully, maybe sometimes some sponsored lunches, some pizza or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, that would be great. I think especially for events, like, if we could have our first like our anniversary events, we
Mm,
always have members who sponsor
mm,
food, drinks, but a lot of it also still comes from my pocket. I also want to give a shout out to Shibuya City, Shibuya Startup Support, for always providing their
mm.
space for free for us to do our events. They also actually offered at one point for us to move the meetup to do it at Shibuya City as well. So thank you so much for your support always. And if you can let me do one last plug. If anybody is interested in helping me with social media posts for the
Mm.
lunch club, I have so many ideas that I want to post. Like, a lot of people love our blogs on free co-working spaces and talking about visa and other things, but I don't have the time to be writing blog posts every week. If anybody wants to volunteer, if in the future the nonprofit angle really works and we have sponsorships, I actually want to be able to pay people,
Oh.
to do that. But for now, if anybody is interested in volunteering to generate content for the community, feel free to contact me.
So cool, man. Yeah, hopefully some people will sign up and be able to do that. That would be a really great thing. I can totally relate to the social media posts. It's so hard when you got so many other things going on, but it's such a necessary thing.
Right?
Doing and telling graph or whatever, it's like, you have to do, but also tell people in order to make real progress. So
Exactly.
yeah. Great stuff, man. Well, we do have a closing tradition on this podcast where the last person left a question for you, and you'll leave a question for the next guest. Are you ready for your question?
Sure.
All
Bring it
right.
on.
All right, excellent. Okay. So, if you could change one thing about the company you've built so far so that it would be bigger than it is now, what would it be?
Wow, that's a big one. If you want to have the longer version of this answer, you can find my talk at Tokyo Fair Club.
Interesting.
And you're gonna know everything you should not be doing as a founder. But one thing, if there's one thing that I would pick, is I would be more confident in my original direction and focus on in one thing. I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the biggest it was great experience. I think it really helped me as a person, but what really didn't really help the company was me just trying to see what would bring a buck, what would be the thing that would stick.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I've been talking about doing education and learning since 2010, when you're actually in the trenches and you have to survive, you you're just looking for it's really hard to focus on your vision and forget about how you're gonna eat the next day, or how you're gonna buy a new toy for your kid or something like that. So you end up focusing a lot on the short term. I would say try to focus on the longer term vision, and try to find ways to make money around your goal. So if you want to do B2B trainings and it's hard to get a corporate client because you don't really have those connections, do B2C, run courses, do a Udemy course, run do whatever you can do on that same space. Udacity has a mentorship program that you can apply and make a couple bucks on being a mentor on their platform. So I would say is try to stay as close as possible from your long-term goal, to make sure that you end up on the shortcut and not just going everywhere, because that's what I did. I think I wandered in every possible direction to finally get back to where I am right now. So it was a great learning experience. I value every lesson that I had from that. But from a company perspective, simply putting, I would say try to stay as focused as possible on one topic, one vertical, one thing.
I can relate so much to that, man. The past year and a half, I've been doing like all these different things, trying to, throw stuff out there, see what sticks, and it's been tough. But I think that now I've started to learn a little bit about what the market is, likes and what I like doing every single day. So, yeah, sometimes you need to do that for clarity, but you're right. If you're able to stick with your vision and have that vision and stick to it, that's where the real exponential growth is. There's so many
Yeah.
quotes out there about how to persevere through all that stuff and what comes out the other end is just greatness. So, yeah, can totally relate, man.
Just adding one last thing to that is, like, one thing that I learned is that when you tell people you do 4 or 5 things, people don't really know who they should refer you to.
Mm,
It's really hard for them to help you. When you say, I do this, if you know someone who needs this, introduce them to me. Or even if you just say, I do this, you start getting introductions. I just so we're just closing a big multinational right now, and it happened because I just told a friend we do AI training. He happened to talk to the HR of that company on a casual chat, and they were looking for a bilingual Japanese English AI training company. And because he knows I'm a training company, he's like, I actually know a training company who can do a bilingual training.
that's it. That's the power of just focusing on one thing. That's true, man. All right, cool. So now it's your turn to ask a question for the next guest.
Okay, so did you turn your passion into your job? Yes or no? And how do you feel about that statement? I think a lot of people say that that the best way to do to work is to make work not feel like work, is to have your passion, be your work.
Mhm.
Are you doing that? And how do you feel about that statement?
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are not working in their passion at the moment. That's for sure. That's a really cool question, man. Well, Francisco, I really appreciate your time today. I always love chatting with you and hearing about what you're doing. I learned a lot about your company and your story about what you're doing with AI and how you're helping companies implement that into their daily life so that they can scale. And yeah, the future of the Tokyo Startup Lunch Club looks bright. Thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Product Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps this channel grow. And if you are a product manager or a startup founder who wants to share your story, or some of the struggles that you've gone through in your career, then definitely reach out to us. We'd love to have you on. And until next time, happy building, everyone.